It's train time, starting now, right after this small intro.
In compliance with COPA, this video is not for children under the age of 14. Viewer discretion is advised. Sponsored by Canadian Model Railroad.ca and by donations from patrons like you. Further support provided by miniprint.ca. Make your layout come alive with the 3D creation of miniprint.ca. And now on with the show with your hosts, Peter and Joe.
Well, Peter, episode 36. Yes, that's the final of season 3.
Yep.
We're looking forward for season 4 in January.
Yes.
And this month, what are we doing?
We're doing CMR. Mountains.
How to build mountain.
That's right.
And show them the 22 feet of Rocky Mountains that we have done on the CMR in the second part of the show.
Yes, you did a segment on Mount Royal in the Montreal Yards.
Yep, that's exactly what we are building, is the mountain for the CMR upstairs in the yard. So without waiting any longer, let's go see how we built mountain.
Let's go and see.
Well, today we're talking about building a mountain, and the mountain that you see in there, that is the Mount Royal with the observatory and the Chameleon Hood highway that is in Montreal. That goes to one end of the yard of the CMR. Now, this here is a cardboard web that you use piece of cardboard about 1 inch wide to do the web. Now, this is done, and the reason being I did that is it's a method that have been used for years and years and years. So I just kept a couple at that point to do just to show you. That is your base frame per se. I use some styrofoam at the end, and here is just to give the mountain the heights and so on, and having a solid base for the road and the observatory. So we take our cardboard, I just fold it a little bit, and using a glue gun, you put the glue in. Now this one has got to go there at the end of the road, and just let it drop for now, it's okay. I do the same thing on the other side. Just to tie up the end of the back of the mountain and the back of the road. So I cut it out. Put it back up, and I just put a little piece in here, and you're using some clamps. It will help you keep them in place. Now, some of the place you cannot use clamps, but that is okay. Now, this one is the same. Do the same on this side here. The glue, the clamp, and that's how you do the webbing on your mountain. is nothing really hard to do. Just need a little bit of patience, and that's all. Now that is on a base of masonite, and the reason why it's on a base of masonite is because that part of the mountain has to be removable, because we got to access electrical and so on that we'll be putting in there, such as the lamp posts. Well, your step number 2, after you have done the basic framing with your cardboard web, is to use aluminum foil. Now, I've never seen so far a video about using aluminum foil. You take your foil and you just crinkle it like this. And the best way is you put your glue on it, and where you want your foil to be. So you rub the glue in. And then you put it on. As simple as that. Now you will find out I prepare some of them. Just a question of saving us some time. And you form it like this all around. Now I need a little piece in here, so you can cut it the way you want. Now it could be a little hot at time when you work with it. There you go. And the whole mountain is built that way. Now, so you can see right now exactly how we do it. It's nothing that is really complicated in here. There we go. We got the top of the mountain right now, pretty near done in here. And in this one, I just fold a little bit the bottom here, and to be able to put the glue. And then the rest goes on the styrofoam that you got in here. Now this I insert on the bottom of my road, and then start to fold it and bring it to the back. The nice part with this is, with the foil, it gives the strata of the mountain without having to use some mold. Majority of the time, we have to mold rocks and apply it and then blend it with the rest of the mountain. With the aluminum paper, you don't even have to use mold. The reason being is that all your strata is already there. So here we do exactly the same thing. I overlap in here, if you notice. Now we'll need a little piece for there. So we do exactly like we did a little earlier. I'm folding the base. I'm putting some glue into it. I got some in here. And put some glue at the base. There we go. We got the back here, the mountain done, the top. So it's only the highway and the observatory that is there. Now that mountain has got a lot of grass and absolutely a lot of trees. See what I would be doing with the base. On the base of my masonite, I'm putting the sheet there underneath, like this. And what we'll do after they are in place is we'll put them to the web, which will complete technically your mountain as far as step number 2. So you do that to all your base. Well, now that we have done all the plug-in, let's do the rest here. So you bring your foil in place. So now we'll finish that off camera. Now we're ready for step number 3. And step number 3, and what goes over top of that, is gypsona. Now gypsona is, those one are 4 inches wide. That's exactly the same material that you use, that the hospital use if they make a cast if you broke your arm or your legs. Now they come in a roll of 4 inch of gypsona. Some people use a woodland cynic. We don't. We found we didn't have the same amount of plaster on it as you have for the cast material. Now that cast material you can find in any orthopedic suppliers that you can have in your region. Here I have a tray of water and we got our gypsona. Now the gypsona, we cut it in the length of maybe 10 inch to 12 inch. You put it in the water, and when you put it in, instead of just putting it in and smooth it up with your finger, I hope you got gloves, you bunch it up so that it feel inside of the crevice that your crunched up paper has produced. Now you want to overlap and so on, and so that's how you start to do that. When you got a lot of big space, okay, let's do the top a little bit in here. You see, you're not working on just putting some plaster in there and smooth it out. You want it to get as many of the form of the mountain that you have, like I'm working at right now. Now you can double, you can triple those. What I suggest, if you're making more than a single layer example, depending on what you want to do with the terrain. If you're on the top of a mountain where you don't have trees and that type of thing, one coat of that will do. When you do the second part here, you overlap, because as you crease it, right, like I'm doing right now, sometimes it doesn't want to bunch properly. So now we have a couple little places that needed some more, so you cut a little piece and you just put it over top, and it usually does the trick. Now the top of the mountain there has been done. That's how you apply your plasters. You can already see some shape taking place as you're doing it. You cannot miss that. It's a very, very simple method. keep on doing that process till you got all your mountain covered. It's not the palm of your hands that create all the creases and so on. That's the tip of your fingers. Now remember one thing, in nature nothing is perfect. So if you want to have a perfect scenery, you have to master the imperfection. That's really what is the basic rule of sceneries. And everything is done on layers. Now I think you got a pretty good idea of the concept of how to work with your plasters. Now if you're making double layers, right, your first layers is on one direction. And you can tell right now how much of the shape of this mountain is taking place. Now on double layers, you take your other one and you just put it reverse of what you have done on the first. You will make more than one layers on area where you will plant a lot of trees and that type of thing. Put another one in here. Now this stuff does dry very quickly. So you can go from step 3 to step 4 in not much time really. You can the next step we will do after this is the last step prior you're doing the coloring of your mountain. Now we'll finish the rest off camera for now. Alright, now as you can see the mountain has been done with the cast. The step number 4 and the last one prior your painting of the mountain is you use regular compound, drywall compound that you buy at the Home Hardware or Rona or any hardware, and you dilute that a little bit like a paint, but a thick paint, and with the brush now you go all over your mountain with it. It's a lot more of a dabbing than anything else, because the plasters that you have applied will leave some open space here and there, which is totally normal. So now by putting this compound in, what you're doing really is even reinforcing your hard shell. So when you go and plant your trees and doing the rest of your sceneries on that mountain, you will have something to work with. Now, you don't have to let the plaster totally dry to do it. It's kind of a wet on a wet in here in some ways, because it doesn't matter really. What you're trying to do is to cover the imperfections and so on, and create the hard shell. As you will see in the second part of this show, we show you the first 22 feet of the Rocky Mountains on the CMR upstairs. This has exactly the same methods that we're using right now, that we did that. And we didn't have to use really any mold rock, for the simple reason that the aluminum foils, as you can see, does the trick for the strata. Now, it's not a job that is long to do. It's pretty fast doing those mountains in some ways. So you cover all the space. Now, when that is done, that you have done that part, the fourth step of doing the mountain, this you let dry somewhere around 24 hours or more before you start the final step of making mountain, which is the coloring of the mountain, which would be another video for another time. As you can see, it's very shiny. Do not be shy with this. You know, this material doesn't cost a fortune. Let's put it this way. Let's change that a little bit so it can be easier to work with. Now, to dilute the compounds, the drywall compounds, to make it like a paint like this, a thick paint, it's a little bit like a pancake mix. That's really what it is, right? So I use a little bit of very hot water, not much. The compound at that point dilute real good. And if you have put too much water, you just add on a little bit more of the compound and so on. Now, as you can see, the whole hard shell have been done. Now, if you see some imperfections that you want to correct at this stage, you do it, and you just dab a little bit more over top like I'm doing right now. And so in a nutshell right now, what you have your mountains have been done. all your hard shell has been done. And like I said, the next step now after this would be dry would be ready for the texturing with paint, which would be mainly washes, over washes, using a method that is wet over wet, and it's done with an airbrush. It's not done with brushes. So after the painting would be done on that mountain, then the observatory and the roads and the sceneries, the grass and so on, that's when those details come into play. So I hope you enjoy our methods of doing mountains. It's a simple techniques. I hope you learn something out of it. I hope you use it. And now, this is it for this segment of how to make mountain at its train time.
Ever wanted to take a nostalgic trip back to the steam era? Through the Window of a Train is the book for you. Or go back into history with the Memory of the Moonlight specials. Through the Window of a Train for $19.95, or Memory of the Moonlight specials for $21.95, or for limited time offers, you can get both books signed for only $39.95 plus shipping. Order now.
Well, very good, Joe.
Well, that will give an idea to the viewer of exactly how we do it.
Yep.
We never seen before. I haven't anyway.
Yep.
I don't know about you. Seen using aluminum foil to do the strata.
And we had tried the brown paper and found the tin foil much better.
Well, the tin foil stay in place.
Yes.
The paper, for whatever reason, when you start to put the strip of compound on it, the plaster, it want to change the shape that we already put in, you know. So we had a few little patch up to do upstairs in the 22-foot mountain.
Yes.
Matter of fact, as we talking, we'll be rolling the video of those mountains.
The Rockies,
The Rockies. And after that, we got a series of photos that Peter has taken that will give us, give you the idea of different scenes, what they look like.
And how we have the view blocks.
Yes. The method that we use for the Rockies upstairs for the first 22 feet is exactly the same methods that we use on the video in the first part of this show. It's way faster to make mountain, Peter.
Oh, yeah. We've saved a lot of time, and you've done a lot on your own. Well, in between our visits for working on you've done a lot of work on the mountain.
Well, you see, the fact is when you start at it, you kind of get encouraged.
Yep.
You know, and that is a section that is months into the going to do and so on and so on. So then, when I did probably a lot of stuff on my own was when I start to color the mountain.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
the different layers of paint.
So that is one of the technique that they will learn in a future video in January or February, depending.
Yep.
How we do the paint on those mountains, because it's a layer after a layer after a layer, and it's all using the wet.
Well, you'll be showing it on this Mountain Royal, and it's the same thing that you did upstairs on,
Exactly.
on the Rockies. yeah.
Exactly. So that will give them a video how to paint at that point, some sceneries like that. If we had the sceneries down on the ground per se, that is not mountain, the painting in there would be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But not by much, because technically that is the viscosity of the paint that will come in and play at that stage.
Yeah.
Right now, the viscosity of the paint for the first few colors is very, very runny.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yes.
like a wash.
Yep.
When we get to the final color, that one's a little thicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Well, you're working up your base coats,
Oh, absolutely.
layer by layer in
Yes.
different colors.
Yes.
So when they look at what you got on the Rockies, it's basically ready for us to do detailed scenery on.
Yeah, after I did some highlights
Yeah.
at different place, and the highlight has got to follow how the sun travels, so
Yeah.
meaning the west to the east,
Yeah.
you know. So all the major highlight would be eastwards
Yeah.
on the layout, and got to do the snow cap on the top of the mountain.
Yep. Yep.
And after the snow caps are done, we got to do cleaning all the portals,
Yes.
you know, because they need some cleanup. Some of them will have some touch up on paints,
Yeah.
and clean the tracks and do what is scenery down on the track and that type of thing, and start to prepare the Aikens Lakes.
Yeah.
But I think prior all of that, we got to do the fascia.
Yes. Yes. I think we'll have to do the fascia along that whole stretch of
Yeah.
Rockies. Yeah.
Because it will determine where we make some change and so on, which is not that many to make,
No.
but you got to tie them up.
It's the usual tweaking that you come across as you progress through the scenes and stuff. There's always something that you have to touch up or add a little to, and
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Then after that, well, I'm taking a break from mountains for a while. I will go and work on the region of Quebec.
Yep.
And also not finish, but work on the backdrop of the Montreal.
Yep.
Now that the two mountains would be there.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
then our crew would be able to start to do all the ballasting of the track and the yards, and start to do the yards, scenics and so on. And then you and I will go and finish it,
Yeah.
you know. But we learned some lesson doing this.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
first lesson that I really learned is that the glue gun can be very hot, and I had a few burn on my fingers.
Yeah, I think we both did. Yeah.
And dealing with the strings of glue and that type of thing, sometimes it's a pain and a you know what.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest lesson that we learned through the making of that mountain there is that aluminum paper and the strata.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. It's changed. We haven't had to worry about doing rock molds.
Nope.
It's given us a really good base for all the different strata of rock and you know rock face that we want. Yeah, it's amazing to work with.
And the fact is, with when the plaster cast is put in, we all do that when if you use styrofoam to make a mountain, that type of thing, and you put the plaster cast on it, you kind of just put it in and smooth it out with your hands, and it's done. But when you use the aluminum foil, if you do that, now you destroy the strata that you had created by crimpling that aluminum foil.
Yep.
So you have to use the tip of your fingers in a constant basis just to bring it in between all the things that you had done in the crease.
That's right. Yep.
So, and that's what's make the magic.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Now, in the bottom parts, if you got a lot of trees or whatever you put in there, now you can go a second layer, contrary to the first layer you made. If you make a third one, well, it's back and back and forth like this. And when you apply your compound by brush, you know, that hard shell ain't going anywhere.
No.
You know.
And it's not overly thick.
Nope.
For when you're putting in trees and stuff. So,
Nope.
Yeah.
You do not want to have using the compound, the drywall compound, right from the bucket, because then you will take out the strata that you have made.
Oh no, we watered it down. Quite a bit. It's like
well, it's like pancake.
Yeah, it's like good. It's like pancake batter. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly the viscosity you want to have for that. And technically, really, we don't use a straight compound at too many places.
No, I think the only places we've used it is where we've really had to fill in a gap or something.
Yeah. But otherwise, when we do the sceneries, we use it like a pancake mix over top of whatever the form that we're putting into the ground and that type of thing, you know, in preparation to the coloring and all that and so on. But I find that it took probably to really build the mountain maybe a couple months, you know. The other way, if we had went and do the old methods after the web, the cardboard web, using what they call the material they make is like papier mâché, you know.
Like
So-
paper towel or newspaper strips through plaster.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, and fill it in there, and then sculpt it, and then molding rocks and blending the rocks, and so, you know, we're probably still at it.
Yeah.
Now the 2 months would have become easily 5 months.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
now I'm talking. The layout upstairs is huge, and the mountain that we're doing are huge. They go from sometime lower than the fascia right up to the ceiling. So it's hard. Now, in a previous show, we show you what we were doing for the tunnel. Now, those tunnels, you see the portal, but you don't see the inside of the tunnel, except where we got a lift out to be able to access a long tunnel.
Yes.
Part of the mountain.
Yes, we lift off the whole top of the mountain to access Main 2.
Right.
Which is double track through that tunnel.
Exactly. And the lift up match and fit absolutely well with the rest, and connecting right up to the fascia. So that's really what the ideas were. Now, Peter and I had discussed that lift out for weeks.
Yes.
You know, how we were to do it.
Yep.
You know, because
we wanted to minimize the seam that we would have to cover up after with scenery.
Well, yeah, because a lot of time you look at some layout and they got the lift out, and the first thing that hit your eyes is the seam. You know, and it's unfortunate, right? Because you can hide it just so much. There's some tricks to it, but you got to be careful.
And we'll still see how that goes, because once we get into doing the scenery itself, then we'll see how well we've created the seam and are able to cover it up. So, well, that'll be in the future.
You see, Peter, the way you look at sceneries and so on, you pretty much so see ahead of time what it will be, right? And I kind of follow you in that step. So I'm pretty confident that will not become an issue.
No, the wheels are turning on that one.
Oh, absolutely. The Burton Falls will have some major change. As far as the way that it was, the concept was, now the way that the tunnels are and the way that the mountains are coming in, it would be a little bit different. We'll end up with a little lake over top of the fall, because we got to have access road for the lumber.
Yes, for the logging camp,
Yeah, and the rest would be a surprise in 2023.
Yes.
As far as the other 22 feet of the Rockies. Now, when we're talking about 22 feet of Rockies remaining to do, that do not include the space where the Burton Falls is, which is probably in the surrounding of 5 to 6 feet.
Yeah.
So technically, if you were measuring from the start of the Rockies that we start now to where it will finish, that would be 50 feet.
Yeah, because it's a peninsula that's 22 feet plus the end where Burton Falls
exactly.
is. Yeah.
So anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed the video this month. Please leave us some comments.
Yes.
And I hope you had a beautiful Christmas. And
all the best in the new year in 2023.
Yes, and happy modeling, folks.
Yes.
And take the time during the winter to try all those little things we're trying to teach you.
Yes.
See you in January, Season 4, Episode 37.
Take care.